Good morning and welcome to yet another week in a lot of courses, but especially in 2DV013 cloud native applications. Good morning, Diego.
Hello, good morning.
So this is, I think, like the second to last vlog in the course. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, as they say, at least outside my window. I guess it's been snowing in Växjö as well.
Yeah, the ground is white.
Yeah. And we will. I'm waiting a bit for. Let's see if Mats will show up, but we will not wait for him. But if he shows up, he shows up. I know that there are kind of examinations in the parallel course together with this one. But you can always watch this recorded later on if you like. I was sick last week. Wasn't great for me. I was supposed to be in Helsinki on a big event, but I got COVID on the night before we were supposed to go, so I had to cancel with short notice. So and that made my whole schedule mess up as well. But now I'm back on track, and fortunately I was able to squeeze in the design meeting we had last Tuesday. So that was great. We for those of you who wasn't there, we were looking at different kind of designs for the group assignment, and shared kind of like experiences regarding that. So but I know that basically one from every group was there, so you can in your group you can ask and see what happened if you haven't already. And I will go back to the groups soon and what is happening in the group project, but maybe we should start from the beginning and see if there is something happening this week that is outside of the course. I actually don't think so. We had a program evaluation meeting yesterday. So Shirin was there representing year 3, but there were no biggies, I think, in any of the courses, and not in this course either. I think most of the hurdles now in this course is overcome, and now the groups can, I mean, if you've been able to do the second assignment, basically the group assignment is just a bigger version of everything in the course. So there is not much new. There are some new parts, but not that much. We will have a workshop this afternoon as well at 13:15. See it more as a tutoring session. We will start in Slack, in Zoom, just as usual, and we will answer questions if there are any other projects, or if there are still someone working with the assignment 2, for instance. We can look at that as well. I will need to go like after an hour from that tutoring, since I got I have something to do basically that I need to attend to at 14:30. Looking at starting from the top of the course, Diego, infrastructure part, you have, as you told me, assessed everything that was handed in.
And yeah, they got. I went to the open merge request in GitLab, and I closed them.
Yeah. So
I evaluated all of them. Yeah, I think the comments were given on Monday.
Great, and I will. We just noticed that Diego isn't able to report the grades, but you are the one that is finalizing the grades, signing the grades when they are in Ladok. So I need to report them into Ladok so that you can sign them. So I will do that during this day. So you will get your points in today. Next submission for. Are there anyone that has complementary work, or are all of those fixed as well?
No, I wrote some comments to some submissions, of aspects that I saw that they were maybe not perfect, and since I saw them while evaluating, I wrote the feedback, but they were minor aspects, so it was enough to pass.
Yep. Yep. So then for assignment 1, then the next opportunity is the 17th of June, basically. For the second assignment, the deadline for assessing is this week. So me and Mats will sit down together this year on Thursday and go through the ones that has handed in and write feedback. So you will hopefully get feedback for that on Thursday if I am able to write it up in the afternoon, but I hope I am. For those of you who didn't meet that deadline, there is a new deadline, the 5th of January, for resubmission of assignment 2. So, going over to the group project, we have a deadline for the group project that is the last minute of the study period. So the 14th of January. But we have another deadline, and since we didn't have a proper stand-up last week, I just prolonged this deadline. Some of you noticed that it was today. I prolonged it to the 8th, and that is basically Friday. But if you hand it in this week, it's totally fine. So during this week, report 1 should be present in your wiki at your group project GitLab. And just to mention that if you go into GitLab, you will find under student, you will find your regular a group that is private for you, and then you find a student group that is named after a cat. So team 3 Siamese or something like that. That is your group, and you can you should work in that group, and you should also in that group wiki you should add this report and also the second report when it's time for that. What is this report? Well, it's more or less that you have structured the wiki. That is basically the point. In the wiki, we should be able to find a link to the URL of the application. So you need to this week set up the cluster and at least have an Nginx or something that just answers with a 200 and a blank page at the minimum. And this is the link to the application. This is the link that you are supposed to use during the whole project. So that one you should treat that as a production link. It should always be up and ready whenever we want to visit that link. I'll get back to this a bit, the deployment pipeline autonomy and continuous delivery principles. We will have a look at that soon. It's described under the non-functional requirements. You should also have some kind of design for this. You should have a design that you are supposed to implement, and you should have it in the wiki now. And that was basically the why we had a design meeting last week, so we could all get started on that and get feedback on our designs. So make sure to add this, and also I always like to have some kind of schematic drawing of the system, so you can look at the picture and get hang of which services are involved. Do we have replication of databases and so forth? So this is what we expect to be in your wiki at least no later than this week. And going back to the non-functional requirements, we haven't talked so much about them. We talked more about the functional requirements last time, but we can start with this. We have a production environment and staging environment. So you should have some way of testing the application before you push it to production, and that's what I call a staging environment in this case. I'm in discussion with the Ragdoll group that has been thinking and testing this, and during today we will assess some way of having a different host name for the staging environment. So you will get something like QA CS Cloud for the staging, and then the production will be the CS Cloud name. This is due to being able to have separate namespaces in the cluster. So one namespace for staging and one for production, and then connecting the ingress for the staging environment to a specific host, so that we can route that traffic to the correct one, instead of doing that by subdirectories that we might have done in the past. But that will not be too good when we do this. So we will try that. I'm working. Shirin will be informed, and we have the IT department on hold on that as well, because if we are going some changes to subdomains and hosts, the IT department must be involved. So we are working on that. But if we get something to work today, we have a proposal of how this could be done, and then I will in Slack ask everybody to kind of report which host they are using as a main host. It's basically the URL that you're putting in the wiki. So maybe you already have done that, but otherwise, then we can fix so everybody get a QA or something environment, or a host connected to the staging environment. But it will happen today. We talked for those of you who wasn't there on the design meeting last week, we talked a lot about the replication of database using the command query responsibility segregation pattern, CQRS, and it's basically pretty simple. Well, it's not simple, but it's made pretty simple if you're using like Helm for creating like a replica for MongoDB, for instance. Then Helm will help you configure MongoDB in a way that you will get one write instance of MongoDB and maybe 3 read instances. And then the data will be replicated over those instances automatically, nothing that you need to code yourself. It will happen in the background. And then you can have endpoints that reach the read-only instances for all read operations in your system, and then you can have only write operations going to the write or the main instance of the database, and so the database, the main database will not be affected of read operations. That's basically the meaning of this pattern, and use it, and we recommend that you use that in this assignment. But it's a pretty straightforward process if you're using Helm, for instance. You can set it up without Helm as well, of course, but then you need to do a bit more reading in the documentation. You should have a deployment pipeline, and you should make sure to use it all the time when you work, and you need some kind of strategy together with your teammates of how to use it. But you need to early on, like, think about what should trigger the pipeline. Should it be triggered by every push, or should it be for the main branch only, or for merge request only? And how do you want to do that? What stages will you use in the pipeline for building, testing, and so forth? What should happen if a test fail? You need to kind of document that, or at least have a strategy of I mean, it's not good if a failed test still generates the possibility to push it to production. It probably shouldn't. Responsibilities within the group, who will do what, and how will you handle, for instance, secrets in your project. So these are things to think about. And I think, Diego, that you minted this term last year, or you said that you should aim for continuous improvement, and I really like that. I mean, it's not like you set this in the beginning and it's perfect, but I mean, you will probably find out that some things work and some things do not work. Well, If it doesn't work, fix it during the project. But just make sure to keep kind of documentation up to date. So if you have documented that you are supposed to do it in a certain way and then you change it, please just change the documentation as well. So if we look in the documentation, we know what you're actually doing.
I don't think that I invented the term. I don't want to.
No, maybe not the term, but I think you communicated it to us last year. So yeah. Continuous delivery principles. This is part of the first report as well. Branching strategies. What kind of branching strategies should you use? Goes into a little bit what we talked about just before. How will you handle merging? When will you handle merging? Will you have like meetings and doing it all together, or should everybody be able to merge by themselves? How will you do that? Are you using a monorepo structure with every microservice in one big repository, or are you instead using multiple repositories? You need to kind of talk about that now in the beginning. And also other team practices. When will we work? When we will have meetings? Which tools should we use? And so forth. So just talk about that in the group. I know that in those group projects, there are always different expectations. Some are working, some are not. And you need to all agree on, okay, this is how we will, this is our path forward for the group. So don't miss out on that. I think I talked about this last time, but testing as well. I mean, in an optimal project, we will have 100% coverage and so forth. But in this one, it's more about. I mean, I think it's important that you have tests for stuff, because we want to have tests that can break, especially tests that can break. So you know how to handle it in the pipelines when it happens. So make sure to. You don't need a lot of tests, but make sure to have tests on things that tend to break, because that is probably best for this project. If you want, you can write a lot of tests, of course. Nothing will stop you, but at least make sure to have test stuff that can break. And then there are a lot of optionals to look at. You can look at blue-green deployment. When you, instead of having a staging and production environment, you can have a blue and a green environment. And the green environment is the one that is live in production, and then you can try and ship to the blue environment, and then you switch them. And the next time you will push to the green environment and so forth. There are pretty good documentation actually in GitLab for how to do this. So make sure, if you want to try it out, make sure to read the documentation. It's pretty straightforward. You can also use GitHub's flow instead of where basically the cluster is instead of pushing to the cluster itself monitor a repository, and when there is something new, it will kind of push or pull that new container and start it up by itself. So it's a different approach. It's pretty popular. So if you would like to look at that, please do. Smoke testing. What is smoke testing? Anyone remind me? It's when you. Anyone know? I forgot it. I know this somewhere, but it's basically you're looking at. You probably do as students because you have had a course in testing. I have not. But it's when you observe something, and that kind of tells you that if we get a HTTP blah blah blah, it tells us that something is wrong somewhere. It's like observing the building and looking for smoke.
Reading from an article, determine whether a deployed software build is stable or not.
Okay,
that's all it says.
Yeah. So basically, if it
smoke
if
testing
it
is a
answers on
confirmation
200.
for QA teams to proceed with further software testing.
Okay. Yeah.
It helps to know that something is not obviously wrong.
Yeah.
So that smoke test, if that fails in the first in the first attempt, in the first ping, then we stop the rest.
Yep. Observability.
Well, will you, as I understand it, you test if the application has also minimal functionality that works.
Yep. Then we can implement observability to know what happens, how, like, there are tools for this. Is our traffic evenly spread throughout our replicas and things like that? If you, for instance, implement Istio, Istio has built-in observation tools, so you can basically in real time see all the traffic to which service, where the heavy load is and things like that. So that could be something to look at as well, if you like, but it's optionals. So whatever you like. Well, that's it. So this week, report 1, make sure to have it in the wiki. Report 2 is the one that is for the final delivery later on, but you can already now see what you're supposed to do there. So I think all the information that you need is now out on the course webpage. The only thing we need to just look at now is the thing with the staging environment and make a special host for that. But we will look at that today, and I will keep you informed in Slack. So that's it. Did I forget something? Anything you think? Hope not. Otherwise, you're free to join the afternoon session and the tutoring session there. Other than that, I guess we even this week ask you to or wish you good luck with the examinations in Mats and Johan's course. And yeah, I have nothing else to say. Anyone that needs to say something? No, it's really quiet, so I guess we're done. So thank you all for showing up, and see you next week for the last stand up for the course. Okay, bye.
Bye.